Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of Movement Radio. I am Chip Hazard.
I'm Talon Williams, and welcome to another edition of An Evening With right here on the show. And joining us tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we have with us Mr. Jason Flowers. Jason, how you doing today, buddy?
Good, guys. How you doing?
Man, honestly doing fantastic. It's a little cold here where I'm at, but nothing I can't get over.
Yeah, it's
you need a space heater.
Starting to get cold where we are, and it's supposed to get down in like the 20s, and I'm just like, whoa.
Yep.
Yeah,
I looked all next week is supposed to be in the 20s.
Yeah, I looked at the weather forecast this morning, and we're in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and they're calling for snow on Christmas Day. So,
oh, that's a nice gift.
That is.
It would be a nice gift, but come on. It ain't snowed on Christmas here since 2010. I think is the last time it snowed on Christmas, and then before that, it was like 1969 or something. So wow. It may have been just an anomaly. Who knows? But I guess the first question that we ask all of our guests when we come on the show is, who is Jason Flowers? If for anyone who doesn't know who you are, who is Jason Flowers?
Such a complex question. Who am I? No, I don't know. It's one of those weird things where like I always feel so weird talking about myself, but in this line of work, I have to talk about myself. So, I always feel like I'm gloating or something. But I'm a comic book artist by trade. I get to do this full time, so I'm very grateful and lucky for that. I have worked on cover art for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin. I got a new one coming out for The Last Ronin Lost Years that I'm really excited for. I've done cover work for other companies like Aftershock, Scout Comics. I've done graphic novel work that's been published for Caliber Comics and Arcana Comics. I've done sketch cards for Topps and Upper Deck, for like Mars Attacks, Star Wars, Alien, Marvel Premiere, Clerks. And then on top of that, I make my own comics. So in between doing these freelance cover gigs or anything like that, I make my own comics on top of that, which is my creator-owned book called Bounty Bullfrog.
Okay.
That's awesome.
So I'll follow up with that. What got you into doing comic book art?
I've always enjoyed the cartoons, and growing up, it was like He-Man and Masters of the Universe, He-Man Masters of the Universe, and then like Ninja Turtles came along, and I remember being in like first or second, I think it was like first grade. And my parents had bought me it was like the first collected edition of the Turtles in color. So it was like a graphic novel collecting it's like the first 4 issues in color. And I always loved that. And I would draw the characters from it. And then one day this kid, I was in daycare a lot until like I was 12, until they wouldn't let me be in daycare anymore. But because my parents worked all day, and then so I was like one of those like last to be picked up kind of kids. But they would have me in daycare, and this one kid came in one day, and he had a stack of comic books, and I'll never forget. It was like the Wolverine Mark Silvestri run, so around like issues like 45, 46, and so up to like issue 50. And it just blew my mind. And like, that was it. Like, I knew that I loved comics. Like, I was into it. I wanted to read comics and draw comics. And from that moment on, I was like at daycare, making my own little comics and creating characters. And Jim Lee's X-Men came out around 1990. And then that just kind of really excelled it to like this whole different level of like, that's all I want to do is I want to make comics. So I knew at like 8 that I wanted to make comics for a living. So
that's awesome. Do you have any of those like original like sketches that you did? You do?
Yeah, I still have a couple of the comics I made. They're real, real beaten up looking, but I had one that's like on manila paper, folded in half and stapled, because like at our school, it was always like manila paper. It was never like white paper. It was so weird. So I got a couple of those stapled together. So I've got about like 3 or 4 different books. But when I got into like high school, still making comics, I still have all those. So
yeah. So when did you, because like you said, when you were really young, when you made the conscientious decision, okay, I want to draw and I want to do comic books and stuff. When was the first time that your work was recognized, where you were like, hey, this could be an opportunity for me to actually make some good money at this? Like, when was that first opportunity
in
presented to you?
comics,
Yes.
It was never like, growing up, it was never like the money aspect. Of course, like I grew up in the age of, seeing the image boom. Like, so 10-year-old Jason's watching these long lines of people. And of course, like that to me was more of the success of like becoming a comic artist than it was like, I never really thought about the money aspect until like, of course you get out of high school and you have to think about money.
Right.
Like, oh, wait a minute, I need to survive off this. But that stuff probably didn't come until probably more recent, because
Okay.
probably like within the last 5 years that I really started realizing that, I should probably I can make money off of these comics, because of, crowdsourcing became more open and more people were understanding it, especially when COVID hit. So that's where it kind of started to kind of come to light that maybe I could sustain myself off this. But yeah, growing up, it was always just, I want to make comics. Of course, I want to be famous for my comics, but I never thought of the money aspect of it until I had to. So.
Right. Yeah.
So it's ironic you say that. When I was growing up, I wanted to be a professional wrestler, and there was never this mindset of, I want to be rich, being a professional wrestler. I just wanted to do it. And luckily enough, I've been able to do that for, around 20 years. Right before COVID hit, I decided to step away from wrestling to focus more on the podcast and my children. So,
yeah.
but
my dumb ass stayed in 2 more years.
So I kind of always get that question as well. Like, what about the money? For me, it was never about the money. It was about the passion of being this thing.
Yeah.
So I completely understand, where you're coming from there. Right. What was one of the first like major projects? Like, you said you started like drawing your own stuff at a really young age, but what was one of those first like major mainstream projects that you could attach your name to and tell people, hey, this right here, this I worked on?
Yeah. For me, it was, for the longest time, it was like just trying to get published. And I was successful with that back in like 2010. I got published from Arcana Comics doing a graphic novel. And it was supposed to be 5 issues that were going to come out by themselves. And then when the economy kind of buckled in 2008, a lot of independent publishers kind of went the graphic novel route. So that was probably like my first official published work. But it wasn't like I started doing like sketch cards for Tops. So I got to do like I said, the Mars Attacks was my first stuff for them. And then they asked me to do some Star Wars stuff. And so that was like my first initial, like, hey, here's a property that I love, like Mars Attacks and Star Wars, and now I've gotten to work on that. But for me, the biggest achievement so far has been the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff, and that came along with Epicos Comics. So shout out to Epicos Comics in
Yes.
Chattanooga.
Yes,
Henry,
absolutely.
Henry and Tim, great guys. Adam, who used to work there, well, him and Henry are the ones that suggested me for doing a cover, and that kind of is what launched the ripple effect of now me getting to do all these other covers. So if it wasn't for them giving me that first turtle cover, then who knows how long it would have taken, or would still.
So
Go ahead, Talon.
I was just going to ask, how long does it take you to, you have the idea of what you want your print to look like. How long does it normally take you to create a certain print? I guess, I mean, obviously it depends on the character that you're drawing, but what is the normal average time that it takes you to normally draw a print up?
It depends. It depends on the time frame I have. Doing some of these, like for instance, these covers. Sometimes you'll have like a month. Sometimes you'll have like a week. Like, and then it depends on like what's on the piece. So if I'm just drawing a single character, it's going to be a lot easier for me to get through that and draw a lot faster than if I've got like a like 8 people on a cover, or like a detailed background too. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of variation, but anywhere between, like, I say 4 to 8 hours is usually like the time frame it usually takes to do a piece. And it could be longer. Like I did a variant for issue 5 of Last Ronin, and I made it to where it was like a double page spread. So it was actually 22 inches wide by 17 inches tall. So it was pretty big, and there's a lot of characters on that page. It was a homage to the original issue 7 of Ninja Turtles. So there's a lot of characters I had to draw. So that obviously took longer than, per se, a single page with one character.
Yeah.
That answers it.
No. I've read the Last Ronin run, and I remember that print, and I just like I can vividly remember it in my mind and thinking, damn, this is really awesome. Like who drew this? And then, I meet you, and we're talking about it, and you tell me that you're the guy who did all this, and I'm like, man, like it just blew my mind that one person. And I guess I've always just thought like there's this team of people, and this person draws this person, or this person draws that character, but then to find out that you did the whole thing is like, it just blew my mind, and just made me like respect artists in comic books even more, because like you look at like Van Gogh or whatnot, like they have one piece that really sets them apart. And like with Van Gogh, it's like the Mona Lisa. Like everybody recognizes the Mona Lisa, and they're like, oh, that was Van Gogh.
I think that was Leonardo.
No, yeah, that was
Da Vinci. Da Vinci did the Mona Lisa.
Yeah,
but Starry Night was Van Gogh.
Starry Night was Van Gogh. My bad. My brain.
Sorry.
No. You're absolutely right.
It's early, man.
My brain has dyslexia at some points. But whereas you get multiple shots. You get 4 or 5 different covers for one book or whatnot, and that's, to me, that's just amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I have a colorist who helps me now. Like for a long time, I was just very OCD about letting anyone kind of help with certain things, only because of past instances where, like, either it wasn't what I wanted or they kind of flaked out halfway. So now I found a colorist, his name, Guilherme Mendes, and he's from Brazil and he's awesome. Like, so.
Oh, that's awesome.
Color my Bounty Bullfrog comic series. And when I started getting the churro covers, I told him, I was like, look, let's get you some recognition working on some company work too. So
has there been anybody who you've met in the I don't know if you meet, whether you meet him at cons or you meet him like personally working with him and stuff, that it's like I'm into somebody that I looked up to, you know, as a writer or an artist or anything like that, that you're like, hey, you know, I admire this person's work and it maybe it influenced me in any way, shape, or form. Is there people like that?
oh yeah. I mean, like I said, I've been getting to set up at conventions since I was like 15. And so I've been setting up at comic shows since I was 15, like local one day kind of events. And then I've moved on to Dragon Con and other stuff. But so I've been going to comic conventions since I was like 13 and meeting artists, and being from Atlanta, there's quite a hub of talent that lives here.
Yeah.
My very first comic artist I ever met was at a comic shop, and it was Brian Stelfreeze. I'm not sure if you know who he is, but he is a super famous, incredible painter, and he's worked on like tons of stuff, but mainly most people probably know him from his Batman stuff.
I knew that name sounded familiar. I'm a huge Batman fan.
Yeah, he was amazing. Like meeting him, I was probably like 12 or 13, and he was doing a signing at a shop, and we just happened to go into that shop that day, not knowing that he was there, and he took the time to show me anatomy and how to do this and how you should work on that, and that really helped a lot. But yeah, meeting Kevin Eastman was really cool. I met Kevin several.
Oh my God.
Times. I got to set up next to him at Dragon Con one year. He was literally right next to me. He had just, is right when IDW had just started. So it was like 2012. They had just started the Ninja Turtle series, and that was really, really cool. But yeah, I've met there's quite a bit of people I've met that were like super awesome, like Kevin. And then there's a couple I've met where it was like, whoa, like don't meet your heroes.
Don't meet your heroes. Yep.
And then there's a couple where the first time I met them, they were kind of standoffish. And then I went back for another try, like another year, and they were super awesome. And, you know, so I try to make sure like to give everyone a little bit of a chance, only because like, you know, they might be having a bad day or a bad weekend, or, you know, something heavy going in their life. You're not really thinking about talking to you, you know?
Yeah.
I try to be nice as possible to everyone, you know. You should, but you know, sometimes you can't help what life is happening with you, you know.
Exactly.
Now, so when we first asked you like who you were, and you were kind of running through these things that you worked on, you said you got to work on some Clerks cards.
Yeah.
Did you get to meet any of like Kevin Smith or Jason Mewes or anything?
That would be super cool. So what happens is like Tops and Upper Deck. So the Clerks was through Upper Deck, and when you work on these license cards like that, they just ask you like, hey, do you want to work on? We have a set coming out for this. We need this many cards from an artist at this price. Are you willing to do it? Kind of thing. It would be super awesome if I got to meet them, but no, nothing that cool, unfortunately. Yeah, like that's what it was with when Last Ronin was coming out, and when people were like starting to get on the bandwagon and seeing like how awesome this book was going to be. A lot of people were like, do you know what's going to happen? Do you know? Like, I remember being on one interview with another guy, and the interviewer kept asking us, like, do you know the storyline? Do you know what's going to happen? And the thing here is like we're just commissioned to do this. We're
Right.
not like unless you're like Ben, who's working on the book, like you're not gonna know. So
Okay.
it kind of
Yeah.
keeps it hush hush, you know.
I didn't figure like you would have known like what was going to happen or anything in the
Right.
book, but I thought it would be really cool if you could have like met Kevin.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. No, I have had the chance to meet Ming Chen from Comic Book Men, and
He's a nice dude.
he is and hung out with him for a little bit, and he was telling me some stories about Kevin, and I was like, dude, I got to meet this guy. He just seems like the most
pretty cool stories too.
yeah, he just seems like the most like down to earth dude that is famous. You know what I mean?
The first time I met him, it was in I think it was like 2003. My buddy and I went to San Diego Comic-Con, and that was back when he was still with Heavy Metal Comics.
Mm-hmm.
He was still publishing Heavy Metal, and he had just come out with his art book for Ninja Turtles, which was like this hardcover art book that collected it was like 2 inches thick, beautiful thing. I think IDW re-released it or reprinted it a couple of years ago. It's like his autobiography or something, and it's just like the history of Kevin's work from being in high school up to that point, and it was gorgeous. And I got him to sign it, and I got a picture with him, and like in the picture, my eyes are just like I am starstruck. Holy shit, I just can't have an Eastman.
Yeah.
His work, like I love Peter's work too, but Eastman's grittier style has always stuck with me a little bit.
Yeah.
I can see that in some of your artwork.
Yeah,
how like that Eastman style really has influenced you.
yeah, I love gritty art. I love Bisley. I love Eastman, Frank Miller, Mike Mignola, Lee Mayo, all those people. Like dark style, gritty art kind of really is my forte. But
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at I'm currently on your is jasonflowersart.bigcartel.com where it's just a lot of amazing prints. It has obviously the series Bounty Bullfrogs, which the cover of that looks awesome to me as well. But you got a Ghost Rider print, Venom, Alien versus Predator, you got a standalone Xenomorph, Stranger Things, like you can tell that there's a lot of gritty, like the Punisher one that I'm looking at right now was amazing. Yeah, man, the Silver Surfer dude is crazy. Like that was one of my that was my dad one of my dad's favorite comic book characters was the Silver Surfer. So I was like, I gotta show him that. I think he'd buy it. But yeah, so you could definitely see in your style of work a little bit more of a grittier style.
yeah.
Do you prefer that style compared to like if someone said, hey, can you draw this for me? Can you make it a little bit more not as gritty but more like mainline? I guess I don't know how else to describe it. Like is it more of a preference to draw in that type of style?
Yeah, it's one of those things where like if you look at my, like for instance, if you look at my last Ronin covers that I've done, that's more of me taking the time to like you said, almost mainstream it a little bit to where like the lines are a little crisper and everything's a little more like thought out.
Right. A little more fleshed out and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, like so with Bounty Bullfrog, I'm doing that with that comic. But when I got back into making comics around like 2015, I set out to just kind of make comics. I wasn't trying to like really do something super impressive yet. So I just had this like really inky, gritty, dark style, like really messy, almost like are you familiar with like Jim Mahfood?
Yeah.
Like Bill Sienkiewicz, Jim Mahfood, just kind of slinging ink and just getting it out there. So I did that for a comic called AI Wars. And then I was just kickstartering it to just do a book like that. And so then when it came out, I like it, but like I know that this is like just a gritty, kind of messy, fun style. And it's not like I wasn't like the thing about it was I wasn't trying. Like I was trying, but I wasn't trying, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
with covers, obviously that's me trying, if that makes any sense. Like Bounty Bullfrogs like that, where like I'm putting a lot of love into these pages. And with that, with the AI Wars graphic novel, it was just, I was just getting it done kind of thing. Like I want to make a comic again, put it out there kind of thing. So now I'm like, a lot of people see that, and I know that they're looking at that going, okay, so I guess this is how he draws. And I'm going, no, I could draw a lot better than that. I promise you. I was just trying to put a comic out.
Right.
So now I'm putting out Bounty, and that's me putting love into it like I would these covers. So
okay. I want to get into Bounty Bullfrog, but before we do that, what, aside from like your own personal comic, which is currently Bounty Bullfrog, what has been some of, or just one of your favorite like pieces that you've worked on? I mean, I'm sure they all hold a special place in your heart.
Yeah. It's always nice, and like I'm very honored to be able to do like a cover period. Like I did a cover for this book called Black Friday from Scout Comics, from the Black Caravan line. That I was asked to do that one, and so that was an honor to get to do. So it was monsters. I love drawing monsters. And then we did, Epicos and I did an Aftershock comic cover for Maniac of New York, which is a cool series that's like Jason Voorhees kind of thing. So I got to play around with like mimicking the original Friday the 13th NES cover for it. So we did like a homage to that. So I got to play with that. But my favorite pieces I will have to say are like the Last Ronin #1 I got to do, and then this Lost Years cover. I really like this Lost Years cover I did that's coming out in January. So I try to, like with the Lost Year stuff, the hardest part, or the last Ronin stuff, the hardest part I've noticed is, since none of us know what's happening, like that's why you're seeing a lot of just like really cool posed pieces.
Right.
On like throughout the whole series, because we never knew what was happening. Every once in a while you would get like a really something different where, you know, there's some panel pieces and some characters are all in it. But that's one of the reasons why for issue 5 I wanted to do like a homage to issue 7's cover from the original, because just something to stick out different, you know.
Right.
And just like, here he is again on the rooftop, or, you know. And setting out with the Lost Years, that's what I was going for too. Like the problem with that is everyone's only been given, well, at the time before the deadline, we were only all just given, here's him standing in the snow, you know, on this journey. So I went back to parts of I think it's issue 2, where Michelangelo talks about it just faintly.
Right.
There's like a scene where he's like in this Thunderdome kind of arena, and he's got the 2 batons, and he's like got a bunch of dead bodies below him. So I was like, that would make an awesome cover homage, you know, like, and it'd be something different that you don't normally see from all the covers that have been coming out. So
yeah, when I seen that piece, when your pre-order went up for the cover of that piece, I like, it blew my mind. I was like, oh my god, like this is like, I was looking forward to the book anyway because I love Ninja Turtles, and I thought the last Ronin run was really amazing. And then to come to find out, you were the one who actually told us that they were going back and doing like these Lost Years of, you know, the last Ronin. And like, I was like, oh man, I got to get those. And then when your cover hit, I was like, oh, I really got to read these now.
Yeah.
I appreciate that very much. Yeah. It was something fun, like I wanted to do. Like I'm excited to see what they come up with. Plus this this book, we're getting brand new turtles. So
Exactly.
I think it's really gonna be something, a lot different than what we're normally seeing. I don't know anything, but
No.
I do know we're getting new turtles, obviously, from the first series. So.
Even if I thought you knew something, I would not press you for that information because I want to actually sit down with it in hand and be amazed and not be like, oh, I know what's going to happen. No, I want to, I'm not the spoiler kind of guy.
Yeah.
Right. Kind of like when the actors from The Walking Dead are like, hey, this person is dying this week, but they don't know from 1 week to the next who's going to be the next one to go or what the next one is, But I think that's great from the standpoint that to where it's like everybody's surprised now. You don't want to take the chance of, you film a 12 episode series. Everybody knows what happens, and then spoilers leak and things of that nature. And I'm guessing it's the same for comic books as well, especially in that tight-knit community. You're drawing and it's like, okay, I'm drawing this, but why am I drawing this? Do you ever get that thought of like, you try to like, not guess, but kind of like, okay, where's the stories going just by the artwork that they're asking me to draw? Like, where am I going with this? And do you ask questions of like, okay, do you want this to look a certain way, or
this with this series for the Lost Years, when they approved us to do first, we had to be approved to do it. So once we were approved to do it, then they were like, with this series with Lost Years, they were like, okay, IDW was like, you have these limitations, like you can't do certain things. And we're like, okay. So then we had to turn in like cover roughs. We had a deadline for like a cover sketch ideas to approve. And when we sent those in, what I had originally drawn on one of them was something that they came back to us and said, you can't draw that because of something else that we can't tell you. And it was like, okay, well, you kind of tell me this, so I kind of know this, but I can't say that.
Right. Like, give me a clue.
I'm being extremely vague, but I don't want to get in trouble.
No.
Right.
Would not want you to.
We understand. Yeah, we understand.
But yeah, it made me go, oh, so that means something.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I had to redo a cover sketch because then we had to turn that in, and then not only IDW approve it, but then they send everything off to Nickelodeon to be approved.
Oh wow!
So, since Nickelodeon, Viacom owns the the license, everything has to be approved from them. So then it's like going back down the ladder. So it took quite a while, and with our cover, I was kind of nervous because when they approved the sketch that they did approve, I went kind of off grid a little bit, and what I ended up drawing was on the original concept sketch, but it wasn't the image they approved at the time. So, but that, like, I did like a collage for the cover as a concept sketch, and the cover I ended up with of him in the Thunderdome area was on that collage, so they approved it, but I wanted to do something a little more dramatic posing, because I like dramatic covers. Like, I love walking into a comic shop and seeing like the cover and it just stops you and you're like, holy cow, that's awesome. I hope interiors look that good. So I love that, so I wanted to take that idea and run with it. So we did. And we kind of gambled on it because like we sent it back off to them and we just never heard back for approval. So we were getting close to the deadline and I was like, oh shit. So we're just going to draw. So we ended up just drawing it and coloring it and just turning it in. And thankfully I got approved. But so it was kind of a gamble. But
sometimes it pays off for you, man. Sometimes it just works, And if you got somebody there who's like, okay, we'll do.
I wanted more blood on it.
Like, whew, good. I don't have to wait another 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it
Who
was a
don't want
lot
more
of
blood?
nervous. Well, we wanted more. I wanted more blood on it, but I had a feeling that if we had turned it in because we were so close to that deadline and it had blood on it, they'd be like, nope. So we went with more of the PG version of him standing there over the bodies. So
Yeah, and with Nickelodeon being part of that, you but like, because Nickelodeon's, I mean, it's
yeah,
mainly
I
watched
think
by kids. So
I
yeah,
think if Kevin still had the rights to do it, we would have saw probably a little more of an extreme violent death scenes in the series. But
yeah,
because of it being licensed from Nickelodeon, I think they pulled back on a lot of it. So
right.
like a lot of implied stuff. So which is fine. They still got to do what they wanted to on some degree. So I guess that's good,
Right.
All right. Now let's get to the nitty. We talked all the cool mainstream stuff. We got Last Ronin. I recently just picked up these two figures here. This is
Yeah. I
uh
just got mine in the middle.
do you have the unarmored version?
I don't have the unarmored. I just wanted the armored one, but now like the way I keep looking at the unarmored one, I'm like, I'm probably gonna buy that.
So I found these in the wild. I didn't order them. I was just walking through Walmart and seen them on the shelf. Yes,
Of all places, Walmart had them.
yes, one each, armored and unarmored, and I snatched them up quicker than I've snatched anything up because I was like, I have to have these pieces. But
Yeah.
I want you to tell me about Bounty Bullfrog. I've seen your artwork and I've kind of flipped through a little bit. I don't own any of it yet. I do plan on picking up some Bounty Bullfrog. I apologize. But I am excited, genuinely excited for where you're going to take this comic. And I want you to tell me all about Bounty Bullfrog.
Sure. All right. Yeah. Awesome. So Bounty Bullfrog actually stemmed from my love and obsession with Ninja Turtles. And when I was like 15, like I said, like I had always been making comics, and then I was reading comics and I was reading a lot of indie stuff, more like the Image stuff, I should say, at the time. But around like 10th grade, I was in class and this girl was next to me and she was like, what do you want? Like, I was like, what should I draw? Like, I'm bored. And she's like, I don't know. She was like naming all this funny stuff. And she jokingly said a Ninja Turtle. And I was like, I loved Ninja Turtles growing up. And for some reason, I kind of fell off as you get older, one tends to do, and you kind of forget about them. So I drew Ninja Turtle and that led to drawing another Ninja Turtle. And I was like, oh my God, like, I love this. And I went back and found that book that my parents had got me, the collected graphic novel of the 4 colored issues, and I reread it, and I was just like, it blew my mind because it registered to me that like this wasn't the cartoon I grew up with,
Right.
Like there's a lot of violence in this and cussing and all sorts of stuff. So that really enticed me to like find the other issues. So I went out and I found all the books and I was reading them. And so from like 10th grade on, I was in the Ninja Turtles, and that like really threw me down this really awesome rabbit hole of black and white indie comics. And it just inspired me to make my own comics even more. So I started making, I was into love with Simon Bisley's stuff at the time and Ninja Turtles. And he had just come up, like, I think I had some of his Lobo stuff that I was really into. And I wanted this character. So I was like, I'm going to draw this character called Bounty Bullfrog. And he's like a bounty hunter and he's missing an arm because at the time, I don't know what it was, my obsession with characters with missing limbs or something, just missing arm. Like I think Dragon Ball Z was pretty influential at the time for me. So Piccolo is one of the characters who loses an arm in the episode, and I was like, that just blew my mind. So I liked that. And so I kind of like mushed all this stuff together into this crazy comic. And I started making like 2 issues of it, and then I stopped. And like I said, I was like 15, 16 at the time. And throughout the years leading later, I kept wanting to eventually try to bring him back into making something. And I have a slew of pieces where I've like jotted down notes and created different ideas for comic books and stuff. And I just never materialized. So fast forward to COVID, and I'm like around before COVID, I was starting to try to come back with this character. And when COVID hit, it made a lot of people like want to support artists in a big way, which was super, super awesome. And I started noticing a lot of people doing Kickstarters and them supporting Kickstarters. And so it made me go like, I need to jump on this. This is an ample opportunity. I need to make a new comic, put it out there. What should I do? And that was like, well, you have Bounty sitting there. You've been talking about doing it. It's either like, crap or get off the pot. So I flushed out an idea that I felt was good, because at that specific time, I had done a couple samples for some IDW editors for Ninja Turtles, trying to get some interiors, and it wasn't working. So it was a lot of like frustration on wanting to do Ninja Turtles, but I can't. So it just, you have that moment of clarity where it's like, well, why aren't you just making your own? Like, like they loved Daredevil and they made these characters, like they took a lot of what was Daredevil and put it into their own idea. So I'm like, well, why am I not taking everything I would love to see and do for Ninja Turtles and put it into my own idea? And that's where I made Bounty. And so he's a bounty hunting bullfrog that just is like, takes on for higher things. And in this storyline, he ends up fighting these mole ninjas called the Plague. And they're trying to get this stone back to help resurrect their mole god, Mogaria. So it's borderline cheesy, but also, super comic booky and anamorphic characters, but with human characters in it. So yeah, like I put out the first issue. I got in contact with Jim Lawson, who worked on Ninja Turtles probably for the last 30 something years. And I've always been a big fan of Jim Lawson's work. And I somehow convinced him to do a variant for me, which is actually, you can see right here.
Oh, awesome.
Variant. And then I ended up getting him to do a second cover for issue 2. And so I put it out there and went on Kickstarter. And at the time, like I've done some variant covers for Ninja Turtles. So it just made sense to kind of like piggyback off that and be like, well, hey, if you like this, you might like what I'm doing here. And so the first issue was super successful. And I put it out. And then this past year, I put out the issue 2 Kickstarter, and I'm finally almost finished with issue 2. But I have like the next 5 issues roughed out for it. So it's only going to be 5 issues for this story arc. And then I've got some one-shot ideas I want to do with the characters. But a lot of people are really digging it, which is great. And I've been trying to shop it around to some indie publishers, but I think I'm probably going to go the independent route myself and try to put it out through Diamond myself. And hopefully not next year, but maybe the year after. I want to kind of get a couple books under my belt before I start trying to launch it.
Yeah. I look forward to it. The artwork is absolutely amazing. But I going back and looking at your artwork as a whole anyway, I like your style. It reminds me of the style that I kind of grew up with, like the early Ninja Turtles from Eastman in the Mirage era and everything. So I think that's what kind of drew me to your artwork. So, and then I seen, your Bounty Bullfrog, and like I said, I have not been able to get the first issue. I will find it somewhere. I know on your website it says sold out, but somewhere somebody has an issue that I can buy, and I will get it just because I
am about to do a for January, because like when I did the first print run of it for the Kickstarter, I'm literally myself. I have maybe 10 copies left, which is great and bad. So that's why it's sold out on my website. I do have copies I'm selling at the shows when I do go to a show, but I'm doing an exclusive couple of covers for number one again, and I'm going to do a small Indiegogo. So like there's a lot of people who like Kickstarter, but they don't like Indiegogo, and there's a lot of people who like Indiegogo and don't like Kickstarter. So I'm like, why am I not taking advantage of being on both platforms? And so I'm going to do a small Indiegogo campaign, and I'll have a couple of new covers for that. One is a homage cover to Last Ronin number one. So I'm going to do a homage cover, and then once I print those, that will close for me the initial first print run of first issue. So anything after that will be the second printing. But so that's coming in January. It was supposed to be this month, but I've pushed it to January, so I have a little more time and kind of work out the kinks a little better than.
Well, please let us know when you get ready to put that Indiegogo out. We will share it on all of our socials and talk about it on the podcast to let people know to go there and everything. I definitely want to try to support you in any way possible.
Yeah. I tell people
absolutely.
I understand financial aspects of things right now for everyone. But if you can't support it, sharing and commenting is the way these algorithms work now. Like that helps so much in itself that it can reach people who can support it at the moment. But I will have, once the campaign ends, like I said, that'll give me enough of a print run to still have extra copies after the campaign has ended to like still go to some conventions and be like, hey, here's number one first print. So
right, yeah, that's what I'm definitely looking forward to.
Yeah. Well, Jason, we don't want to keep you too long. No, you got some other stuff to do today, and I know we do as well. So this is your opportunity. We've mushed over comics and art and everything. Where can people follow you? Where can people see your stuff other than what we are sharing out for you?
So I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, Twitch, TikTok. It's all under the same name, Jason Flowers Art. You can buy my comics for Bounty Bullfrog, or you can pre-order right now. I'm taking pre-orders for my Last Ronin Lost Years #1 on my website at jasonflowersart.bigcartel.com. Like I'm on all the social media platforms. I'm traveling constantly in the Southeast for shows around, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Florida, Georgia, that kind of whole area. So you can find me on the con circuit that way too.
When is your next? I was about to ask that. When is the next con you got coming up?
Nothing else for the rest of the year, since we got 2 weeks left. I just was at Charlotte Comic-Con last weekend, so shout out to those guys. That was a lot of fun. Hopefully they'll have me back for their next show in March, I think. But my next show is a local convention called the Atlanta Comic Convention.
Oh, we just applied
ACC,
to
yeah.
we just
Well,
applied
it's
to
not
get the press.
ACC. It's like, so that's a different
Oh,
comic.
that's different from? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
they came in and tried, because this one's called the Atlanta Comic Convention, and they're called the Atlanta Comic Con or something.
Okay.
So they
I see what you're
shorted it to ACC. But so this is like a 1-day event that usually is like, it's been going on for like 27, 30, almost 30 years, I think.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah, it's been around for a very long time, but it's like a little 1-day Atlanta show that I do. I'm usually there almost every one of them for like the last 20 years that I've been going. But I'll be at that, and then I've got another show in Middle Georgia, I believe. I think it's called the Middle Georgia Comic Con.
I've heard of that one.
So just small shows right now. I might be doing a couple big shows. I haven't decided yet. Like, I've been trying to slowly move away from doing a lot of conventions. When I first started off doing full-time work, I was constantly going to conventions. Like I was doing like 40, 50 conventions in a year. Some of them were 1-day shows, some of them were 2 days, 3 days, that kind of thing. But now, since it's been a long time and I'm trying to focus more on comic work, I'm moving towards trying to do just maybe like 1 or 2 a month, as opposed to, 4 a month, once a week kind of thing. So.
Yeah. One of our goals for 2023 was to attend a Comic-Con a month, a con a month, to get some coverage and everything for the podcast.
Right.
So we'd actually reached out to ACC. I don't think it's the one that you're going to be at.
I've reached out to them too, so I haven't heard anything back yet in terms of having me as a guest. But
yeah,
you never know, because I think that show's February, right? I think it's February.
Yes,
February. I think 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, if I'm not mistaken. Because Con Nuga is right before that.
Okay,
that's the 17th, 18th, and 19th. No, 17th, 18th, 19th, right? Yeah. And I know we're going to be at that one. We've already talked to the head honchos over there.
Give me his number again, if you don't mind. Can you shoot me his email?
Yes, I will.
I've tried emailing him, because I got to do his show in Chattanooga and I liked it a lot. I got to do his show a couple of years ago, and I ended up having to leave on the 3rd day because my grandmother passed away.
Oh, man, I'm sorry to hear that.
Sorry to hear that, bro.
I ended up having to leave, but he still has me on the website as like a guest, and I've reached out several times to be like, I want to come to your show. If I'm still on your website, but
yeah, I don't walk into someone's house and ask them what's for dinner unless they invite me. So but anyway, but yeah, man, thank you so much for doing this for us. We really appreciate it. Everybody go check out Jason Flowers' stuff, Bounty Bullfrog, The Last Ronin, all the great stuff that he does, man. Jason, again, man, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. If you want to hang out with us for just a few seconds, again, thank you guys for watching tonight's episode. Chip, anything you want to say before we bounce out here this evening?
As always, check out movementradio.us. That is your one-stop shop for all things Movement Radio.
I got a little girl screaming at me. Hang on just 1 second. Hey, baby.
Okay. Also,
go ahead, Chip.
Also, if you want any of the really sweet Movement Radio merch that we have the Movement Radio logo. We have a My Hero Academia inspired print out. Next month, we will have a Dragon Ball Z inspired print hitting the shelves. So go to streamlabs.com/Movement Radio /merch to get all your Movement Radio merch.
Also, shout out to our sponsors, gearanime.com, Canva, audible.com, Zoo Lily, Elementor, Just Cash Clothing. Why'd you got the light off? GetResponse, W.GG, and Entertainment Earth. Again, go check out the YouTube, channel. Check out all the, make sure you subscribe and everything. Also, once again, check out the what Chip just said, streamlabs.com/movement radio/merch. A whole lot of cool stuff going on. All of our friends who've been down with us since day one. The list is getting too long for me to talk about. So again, thank you guys. Sorry, I got kids here. Sorry. That being said, again, thank you guys. We love you guys. We appreciate you guys. And we'll catch you guys next time. Chip, let's hit them with the outro.
Please do not leave without leaving a like, comment, share, and subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform.
Make sure you follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Check out the YouTube channel and subscribe. Click that bell to get notified of our latest videos. And once again, check out movementradio.us.
I am Chip Hazard.
I'm Talon Williams.
And this is Movement Radio.
God's plan.